Hello people of all kinds, Scorching here. Today we're going to be doing something which I probably should have done like a month back. I am of course talking about the latest studio album by pop-punk slash metalcore thing, A Day to Remember, titled Bad Vibrations. Just want to apologize for not really being very active on this channel. I've kind of realized a bit of a problem that I'm having with album reviews, and that's the fact that it takes more than, it takes quite a lot of listens to get your true opinion on an album, and it takes time for that opinion to develop, and my opinions on some of the albums that I've reviewed so far have already changed, so I kind of need to give albums at least a month before I can truly know how I feel about them. So, I'm kind of just doing this kind of casually, not too seriously. Anyway, let's talk about this new album, shall we? The band first released Paranoia as a sort of what looked almost like a standalone single at first, but it actually turned out to be part of the album. Didn't think too much of that song at first. I didn't really even find myself coming back to it much at first, but I kind of enjoy it actually. And then I reviewed the track Bad Vibrations on my channel like a few months back, and I kind of criticized it for being, generic metalcore, as I always do in my videos when I'm talking about metalcore bands, because I get a bit sick of hearing these riffs. However, my opinion of that has kind of changed. Recently I've been looking more into how much I enjoy parts of a song as opposed to not necessarily how original they are and stuff like that. So bands like A Day to Remember, there are some breakdowns where I feel like they're just a bit bland and generic, but at the same time there's some other breakdowns that sure are kind of generic but also sound really freaking awesome. And I think Bad Vibrations is kind of one of them tracks. It's one that, while it's definitely something that you've probably heard before in the metalcore scene, you can still kind of appreciate it for what it is as its own track and the way it executes what it's doing. I really have to praise how detailed the bass work and the lead guitar is, and how just everything sort of slots together in such a detailed way, And I like dissecting and sort of picking apart songs as I listen to them, so that's very good for me, I think. On this new album, A Day to Remember kind of offers 5 different styles of rock and metal within the first 5 tracks, with every track being something just slightly different and sort of touching upon a different genre of metal or rock. You got Bad Vibrations, which is obviously a metalcore song. Then you've got Paranoia, which is more of a post-punk hardcore kind of song. And then you've got Naivety, which is the obvious pop-punk song. Then there's Exposed, which almost reminds me of new metal a lot, particularly the chorus and the way it kind of ends. It definitely sort of really reminisces new metal to me, and even the main riff of that song kind of reminds me a bit of Issues, which I know is more of a metalcore riff-wise, but still, I like that song actually. It's not a song that I necessarily listen to on its own, but in the context of an album, I think this just flows perfectly. Then there's Bullfight, in which the guitars are just slightly different, and again, it just offers that variety that an album really needs for it to stay strong and keep things interesting, but while still kind of maintaining an overall sound. Part of what makes this work is the fact that there's one vocalist, as opposed to all these other metalcore bands and stuff that feel they need to have 2 vocalists because, either the screamer can't be bothered learning to sing, or the singer can't be bothered learning to scream. I mean, I know that's not technically true because, it does often offer an interesting dynamic contrast, but still, Jeremy McKinnon really nails it. Reassemble offers this really sort of big chorus, which has some symphonic elements in the background almost, and just again offers that little bit of variety. It is a very enjoyable album, but my overall favorite song on the album, and the song that I just come back to so much now, is Justified. The band gets into some definitely controversial topics here. The song appears to be, at a glance, about religion and sort of, how people sort of justify terrorism and burning people and stuff like that, with religion, of course, and it's just a very powerful track in that sense, but also musically it's very powerful. It has a lot of emotion with the guitar riffs, and Jeremy McKinnon's delivery really nails it as well. I think it's just the overall tone of this song that just makes me want to come back to it so much, and just the atmosphere and these quiet parts and stuff. It's just a brilliant song. Now after this on the album, this is kind of that part in the album where songs get a little bit weaker, honestly. Not songs that are bad by any means, still pretty solid tracks, just, you know, at this point in the album, you've kind of heard what the band can do, and the thing is, this is where they start throwing in more of the pop-punk tracks, which up until this point in the album, there's only really been like Naivety as the pop-punk track, and then they throw in, you know, We Got This, and Turn Off the Radio and stuff like that. However, it still kind of works because I still want to hear all the songs played in order because it just flows the right way. The way they've structured this album, it just flows right. And so I don't feel the need to skip any of the songs, and I do also very much enjoy the song Same About You. It just has a chorus that I enjoy, just something about the chords that resonate with me, just a chord progression that I like. I'm used to it, I guess. Now let me just take a quick moment to compare this to the band's last studio album, Common Courtesy. That's actually the first album by the band that I've listened to, and actually I haven't actually listened to any of their albums before this, which is important, I think. But basically, with Common Courtesy, I thought that was a really solid album, but there were tracks where I just thought, like, they kind of blended together, especially in the second half of the album. Songs like Life at 11 and I Surrender kind of blended together a little bit, even though I did enjoy them individually. I think that album just seemed to have a lot of tracks where the genre was like stacked on top of each other with like two or three different tracks of that genre in a row. But this album really just offers something different every track, but still keeps it flowing, and it doesn't feel the need to be, you know, too many tracks. There's not like these short tracks or long tracks, which I do like in an album sometimes, but I feel like Bad Vibrations really works with what it has. And also, one of the other things that just minor issues that I had with Common Courtesy was the final track, I Remember, which was a solid song on its own, and it kind of closed the album off in an alright way with, you know, the studio people talking, the band talking, of course, but I think the track itself just wasn't meant to be the last track. It doesn't sound like it should be the last track. However, when I heard the final song on Bad Vibrations, Forgive and Forget, I was like, yes! This is how you end an album. And a solid closer on an album is one of the biggest things that makes a solid album overall, in my opinion. So overall, this album is even better than their previous album, and I do think their previous album, Common Courtesy, was a really solid album. I just had some minor issues with that, just in terms of a few songs that I maybe felt like skipping sometimes. I don't want to skip any tracks on this album. They all feel tightly, cohesively packed together. Now, I have heard a lot of people have some other opinions about this album. Some people think it's a decent album, but maybe not their strongest to date. Now, the thing is, I can't really say that because I've only listened to Common Courtesy and this album, and I haven't heard much of their earlier stuff. I've heard some songs from their earlier days, but not any of the full albums. So my opinion on their overall best album could easily change once I go back and listen to their older songs. But at the moment, out of the two albums that I've heard from this band, this is the better one, in my opinion. And that pretty much does it for this review, so let me know what you guys thought of the new A Day to Remember album, and I'll catch you in the next review. Next, I'm going to be doing Cold World by Of Mice and Men, which is also kinda late. That does it for this video. Ta-ta, guys. See you next time.